Hello everyone, and welcome to the build guide for my Ice Nova Elementalist. But just a disclaimer, actually, whatever skills you want to play with this build, you can do with minimal adjustment. My main focus of this build is actually the defensive interaction of the newly updated Ralakesh Impatience boot. Without further ado, let's begin. Okay, so basically Ralakesh's Impatience boots has been updated this league to nerf the boot swapping tech charge generation for skills like discharge and the like. So it now counts as having maximum number of base charges and without the stationary portion. So now you're always at your maximum charges, and this is actually this is actually a buff for some builds that do not use the boot swapping tech, because now you no longer have to be stationary to gain those charges, which is great for endurance charges because it gives 4% physical damage reduction per charges. And if I'm not mistaken, this one I'm not sure, but from what I heard, the rarity of Ralakesh Impatience has also decreased, so it drops a lot more often than previously. I'm not sure if that's intended or not. Anyway, we'll be triple dipping our power charge using the Maven's belt, which gives us +1 to maximum power charge, which is always nice, and also gains also modifiers to minimum power charge instead applied to absorption charge. Maximum instead applies to absorption charge. Sorry. So you gain absorption charges instead of power charge, which is perfectly okay because we will always gain the benefit of having maximum power charge, because Ralakesh boots count as having when equipping it, we count as having maximum number of power charge. So we totally mitigate the downside of that. So what absorption charge do is players recoup 12% of elemental damage taken as energy shield over 4 seconds. So recoup is a very strong mechanics whereby you basically in a way regenerate based on damage taken. In this case, 12% elemental damage taken recoup as energy shield over 4 seconds. And this is on top of energy shield regen, energy shield leech, and also energy shield recharge. So it unlocks another method of gaining energy shield. And finally, inner conviction, which gives us more spell damage per power charge, and it gains power. We gain power charge instead of frenzy charge, which again doesn't matter because the power charge that we gain is instead gained as absorption charge. This has a higher priority than this line, so we do not gain power charge. Instead, we gain absorption charge, and regardless, we always have maximum frenzy charge anyway. So also mitigated the downside of this node. So I'll show you this a bit in game. Okay, as mentioned, the build will be build around triple dipping our power charge using Ralakesh Impatience, Graven Secret, and also inner conviction. As you can see right here, in the charges tab of our character sheet, we have always maximum endurance, frenzy, and power charges because of Ralakesh Impatience always count as having maximum. And we also have a slot to gain absorption charges. Unfortunately, we're not always at maximum because this boot specifically states only for those 3 base charges. So any converted charges you need to gain through other methods. But also, if you can see here, if we unequip our belt, our power charges reduce by 1 because this belt also gives +1 to maximum power charges. But with this belt, it allows us to gain absorption charges and also grace the maximum power charges. So there's also other modifiers on the build itself, and together with inner conviction, which allows us to have a lot of beneficial stats from stacking power charge here spell damage 3% more spell damage per power charge, area of effect per power charge, spell damage per power charge, mana regen per power charge. And finally, we gain our absorption charges through power charge on crit. So I'm just gonna open the map real quick. Okay. I'm just gonna open the map real quick because as you can see right here, the belt absorption charges gives 12% elemental damage recoup as energy shield, and since we can stack 7 of them, we'll have like 84% recoup in total, and this allows us to have like consistent energy shield regen from damage taken, elemental damage taken from hits. So I'm just gonna gain absorption charges here. We're already 7. Now I'm just going to try tank the mobs. I raise it back to 7. I'm gonna tank again. Okay, it's Ghost Touch. You can see here, our energy shield goes up really quickly. And this is separate from energy shield regen and energy shield recharge, so it's something on top. Oh wait, I have my golems doing my work for me, so they're killing enemy mobs. But I don't want to take them down because they give me some defensive buff as well. You can see there, I'm taking fireballs to the face. Usually it's a death sentence for most build to tank that many fireballs, especially without spell suppression. But you can see here, you can see from the energy shield gauge going up. Oh, let me raise back to 7. Okay, here. So you can see here, before energy shield recharge starts, the recoup really helps the energy shield to build up. So it's a very great defensive mechanism to have like 84% recoup. The weakness of this is non-elemental damage, that is physical or chaos, and also damage over time as usual for energy shield recharge build. And yeah, that's about it. Okay, moving on, we're gonna cover the pros and cons of the build, and as usual, I'm just gonna read this off the notes in my POB section. And okay, so this is my Ice Nova Elementalist. As usual, I didn't take everything that I think the build would not have a good uptime of, which is Arctic Armor for defensive effective hit pool and actual shock effect, because this build can inflict shock. It's just dependent on the enemy itself. So yeah. Anyway, pros and cons. It's decently tanky because of the energy shield recoup effect. Good crowd control because we're using Ice Nova, but as I mentioned, the focus of this build is not actually Ice Nova itself. It's just that I just wanted to use Ice Nova for just to play around with the AoE, because I like to play freeze and chill build. Huge AoE and clear because we're using power charge stacking and also some other stuff that also gives a lot of AoE. Respectable enough DPS. As you can see from the POB, we have 17 million full DPS for skill plus culling. And actually this build is I built it to have a general caster template, and if you want to change up the build to use other skill, you can with very minimal adjustment to the tree. For example, the only thing you need to change is here, this ice cluster right here. We're passing through lightning and fire either way, so if you want to use other skill, just respec into the specific element and this cluster jewel right here, which gives cold damage. Just use another cluster which gives fire or lightning, depending on what skill you want to play. The cons, we're playing self-casting intensify build, so a lot of time we are stationary, but we also build our defenses based on that, using things like Frost Shield, Sigil of Power, and Arctic Armor, but you still need to know when not to stand still either way. It's an energy shield build, so we have no instant flask, can be weak to damage over time, and almost entirely dependent on flask for movement speed. So this one I'm not sure how to fix, other than using Quicksilver flask. So it's good for general mapping, but Quicksilver, but during bossing you're gonna feel that slow movement speed for bosses that you can't immediately kill. And finally, requires some gear combination to have the energy shield up and running. So you either play a life caster build or maybe play it as a second character. Okay, up next is the offensive and defensive layers of the build. And okay, offensive layers, Ice Nova as a skill is a great skill for freezing enemy. It's one of the highest effectiveness of added damage ice skill. So very great single target hit, which is great for inflicting ailment. And freezing enemies help you to self-cast easily to build up intensify, so you don't have to move around much. So better crowd control means better uptime of DPS. Triple dipping power charge, I covered this in the build intro. So we have general power charge scaling from the tree, because we're taking power charge node right here, and also fast power for increased area effect per power charge. And also for this league we have charms. Where is it? Charms here, increased area of effect per power charge. So huge amount of power AoE per power charge. Inner conviction from Militant Faith, here already covered that in the build intro. And Graven Secret for the absorption charges. And lastly, we're using multiple aura setup, using energy shield build with Prism Guardian, which Socratic Gem reserve life instead of mana. So our unreserved life is only 33, and we slotted in, where is the shit? Determination, Discipline, and Hatred. And again, if you want to use other skills for this build, just change the Hatred aura to Fire, Lightning, Wrath, or Anger, depending on your requirement. Defensive layers, we have armor, fist converted as physical damage reduction, stun immunity. So armor from Determination, Molten Shell, multiple fist converted as element, because as mentioned, absorption charges recoup elemental damage taken as energy shield. So as much as possible we are converting physical damage into elemental damage. From here, Prism Guardian is a corruption implicit. Our circlet, we have implicit and crafted modifier, and also Watcher's Eye. So like 7, 14, 6. This is already 30% physical damage taken as elemental damage, which helps with the energy shield recoup. This one fist taken as chaos is just something extra to further mitigate physical damage hit. And we also have physical damage reduction from our Chaos Golem, 15, and 12 from base endurance charge, which is always on because of the newly updated Relocation Patience. And what else? Stun immunity from Soul of Brand King. Okay. Crowd control via freeze build. So as mentioned in the offensive layer, freeze works offensively and defensively. Chill slows down enemy, but freeze totally stops enemy, which in turn prevents just your random run-of-the-mill mobs from attacking you. So it's great defensively as well. Less damage taken and Frost Shield. So less damage taken, we use Sigil of Power and curse 1 damage taken at low level, so that it gives us less damage taken once the sigil is fully charged, which is great at low level because we can instantly charge the sigil. Voltic armor, we use that as a panic button on top of the frost shield and sigil of power, because it gives us 90% less damage taken, and frost shield for any shield boost, and also some DPS buff from the crit chance. And finally, the elemental damage recoup from Graven Secret, already explained in the build intro. Okay, next we'll move on to the Mastery, Ascendancy, Keystone and whatnot. Okay, I'm just going to go over this real quick because it doesn't need much explaining, already written everything in the note section. Initial Mastery for increased ES, Charge Mastery, Mana Mastery for reservation efficiency, and also Reservation Mastery for increased effect of aura on you because we're running a lot of aura. Ascendancy, we're taking Mastermind of Discord for exposure, but ultimately because we want to take Heart of Destruction as early as possible, because this gives us a huge area of effect when we don't need it during mapping, and Convergence which increase elemental damage when you hit unique enemy, which is when we need it. Then third Ascendancy is Leech of the Primordial for automating our golem buffs, so that we no longer have to summon them. And finally, Shape of Storm. This is dependent on skill. If you're using non-lightning, take Shape of Storm. If you're using lightning, take Shape of Winter for inflicting the other ailment instead. And Bandits, we kill all for 2 points. Pantheon, taking Brine King for stun immunity. Minor Pantheon, we're taking Ralakesh for bleed and corrupted blood mitigation. Actually, the best thing you would want to do is corrupt one of your jewel to have corrupted blood immunity instead. But since we might not have it, so take Ralakesh as the next best thing. Keystone, we're taking Zealot's Oath for life regen applied to energy shield instead, because we are energy shield build. Pain Attunement for more spell damage. This is once we have our Prism Guardian set up, once we change over to energy shield. And this one, Inner Conviction, supposed to be, I can't remember, minion something? Hexmaster, yeah, Hexmaster. So we take Inner Conviction once we have Militant Faith socketed in. Okay, now we'll move on to the gem setup of the build. And first up is our main skill, Ice Nova. This is really for Ice Nova. Again, I want to reiterate, the main focus of this build is to play around with the Graven Secret and Ralakesh Impatience interaction. So you can play whatever skill you want with minor adjustment. But for Ice Nova, we have Inspiration, Intensify, Spell Echo, Power Charge on crit, and increase crit damage. So Intensify is very good for huge AoE when clearing, and also DPS when bossing. And Power Charge on crit allows for absorption charge generation instead of power charge generation for the belt. Golem, for defensive golem setup, we have Chaos Golem for fist damage reduction, Stone Golem for energy shield for life regen, which is then converted to energy shield regen, Mid Shield to have them taunt the enemy for less damage taken to us, and Culling Strike for further DPS increase. Cast 1 damage taken, we're using Molten Shell and Sigil of Power, capped at this level, 2, 11 and 4, to have them as low as possible. And Sigil of Power gives less damage taken when standing on top. So at this setup, we have, where is it, 15% less damage taken. And low level, cap at low level for easier activation from mana consumption requirement, because if you raise it a lot, it will require like few times of your main skill cast. Instead, at low level, you gain stage when you spend 99 mana, since we're casting at 63, so we can gain up to maximum stage quite fast. Aura on shield. Sorry, this is not reserve mana, reserve life. Reserve save it. Okay, so for aura, On the shield, we're using Determination, Discipline, and another 50% DPS aura. This can be anything, either Zealotry for general spellcaster, or one of the 3 elemental aura, Wrath, Hatred, or Anger. So, just something to note, the build can have problem with strength stats. So, for Determination, just level as high as your stats can bring. But, of course, if you can max it out, that's always better. On another falling gear, for aura is Zealotry, Purity of Elements, because we're using a lot of uniques, so Purity of Elements really helps out with the resistances, and also gives us elemental ailment immunity, which is always nice, very nice actually. Val Arctic Armor, we're using Arctic Armor for least fist and fire damage taken when stationary, and also Val Arctic for Panic Button that I've mentioned just now, and Clarity for mana regen. Utility slot, so Lightning Golem, because our build can actually have 3 Golem minions, so Lightning Golem gives the best DPS because of the cast speed. Flame Dash for movement skill, don't need to be linked to anything to be a great movement skill, which is nice. And lastly is Frost Chill and Bone Chill. Bone Chill, this is just something that's very nice from for cold damage skill, because Bone Chill gives increased damage taken per chill effect on the enemy, and Frost Chill actually chills enemy that's inside the shield. So it gives, if enemy attacks outside, it gives you better energy shield guard. If they attack from the inside, it gives better DPS. Yeah, that's about it for the gem setup. And finally, we're up to the final section of the build, which are the gears and explanations. Okay. Gears. Weapon. For the end game, we're using Divinarius, because Divinarius gives a lot of AoE, spell damage, and crit multi. So the AoE stats is fixed 30%, but the spell damage and crit multi has a range, so try to get a very high spell damage and crit multi. The critical strike chance is not as relevant because you don't really need the damage when generally mapping. So yeah, where is it just now? For shield, we use Prism Guardian for our aura setup, and finally Corrupted Prism Guardian with fist damage taken as for endgame, and this shouldn't be very expensive. For helmets, we're using rare, and finally rare with String Exile and Implicit. This one, it's best if you craft it yourself on a Warlord base. Is it Warlord base? Yeah, and no, it isn't. Just a normal fracture base. Get as high energy shield as possible, because there's a mastery that gives increase if energy shield from helmet. So try to get at least like 200, 270 or above, and craft his damage taken as if slot is available. For body armor, we're using Chevron, because Chevron prevents chaos damage taken from bypassing energy shield, which is needed if you're using an energy shield build. And get a corrupted one with plus level to socketed gems. I'm using plus level to socketed AoE for my build for further DPS increase. Glove, just normal rare with implicit of cold exposure and unnerve. Boots, we're using Relocation Patience, the best in slot for our triple dipping setup. Belt, we're using Graven Secret ASAP, because the absorption charge gives a very noticeable increase in survivability. For rings, for endgame, we're using Crusader's energy shield ring, because it can roll percentage increase maximum energy shield. And Curse on Hit ring, depending on the spells that main skill that you want to use. For this build, we're using Frostbite because we're using a cold skill. And you also need to craft stats on your ring. for dexterity and strength as much as possible. Amulet, use Replica Dragonfang Flight for whatever skill that you want to use, and you anoint Infuse for maximum power charge. Because one power charge, as you can see here, gives 12% full DPS, which is a lot for one single node. For jewels, specifically for cold skill, we're using Blast Freeze and Blanketed Snow. Blast Freeze allows you to proliferate your freeze effect. Medium cluster jewel with magnifier, and vast power. Vast power is the important one because it gives increased area effect per power charge. And another medium cluster is Pressure Point and Eye of the Storm for damaging effect of non-damaging element and crit. But actually you can also use another area of effect cluster with vast power if you want even more AoE. At the moment we have like Ice Nova. Okay, you can see right here we have 2.46 increase AoE. It's only reduced because of our Intensify and also Convergence. If we remove Convergence and Intensity stacks, our DPS drops down, sure, of course, but our AoE increases to 3.06, which gives us the huge Ice Nova AoE that we saw in the video. So let me put it back. AoE. Okay, medium cluster. Okay, Militant Faith with Dominus for Inner Conviction. Slot it here at the Witch skill tree. Watcher's Eye. Okay, for Watcher's Eye, actually you can pick whatever effect you want because we're running a lot of aura. Clarity, Purity of Element, DPS aura, Determination, Discipline, whatever. Actually, whatever node that you feel your build is lacking. For myself, I'm taking increased crit chance, Zealotry, another critical strike, penetrate, elemental resistance for Zealotry, and fist damage taken as from Purity of Element. Energy from within near pain attunement here to give further energy shield. You need to slot it in here because this is the place where it functions the most. And finally, Jewel with percentage energy shield, crit multi, and reduce curse. For flasks, we're using Quicksilver, Granite, Silver, and Diamond flasks. And this is the suffixes, the recommended suffixes: cut speed, curse effect, and armor. And lastly, whatever you want for choose movement speed. And lastly, flexible slot, you can use whatever you want. Amethyst flask, I'm using Bottle Faith instead for further DPS. And that's about it for the gear section. Okay, I think that's about it for the build guide for my Ice Nova Elementalist. And again, I still want to repeat myself. I built this as a template to play around with whatever skill we want because it gives a lot of AoE. Can be changed on the fly for whatever skill that you want with minimal adjustment. Just cluster jewel, this node right here, this cluster of nodes right here, which element you casting, and maybe some Watcher's Eye and aura setup, and that's about it. But mostly I want to play around with the interaction between Ralakesh Impatience and Graven Secret for to triple dip our power charge. This is probably my last build for the league. I have another build that I want to play around with the Ralakesh Impatience and Maven's Belt. Maven's Belt unique, but maybe I'll save it around for my next league starter. And thank you very much as usual. If there's any question that you want me to clarify, you can ask in the YouTube comment section or in the forum, and I'll try to answer it to the best of my ability whenever I can. Thank you very much for reading for watching my build guide, and see you around, Exile. Bye.